Hickok 45 here. You guys have been asking me for months, years maybe, to do holster videos, and I keep telling you in messages and online everywhere that I will get around to that. You know, this fall, this winter I'll do some of that, this spring I'll do some of that. Well, I gotta quit telling lies, and I gotta get to it, and I'm going to do it, I promise. I have been telling people lately we're gonna do some holster videos here. It's one thing I know a lot about, I really do, and haven't done much at all on holsters. Various reasons, but just haven't gotten around to it. Too many guns to play with and other things. You know, again, got to be in the mood. But I've had so many requests, and I do have some knowledge in that area that I feel obligated to get to the holsters this spring. So we're going to be doing some of that in addition to everything else, of course. And I have a couple in my hands. A little background. I've been, playing with the cowboy guns, quote unquote, the big revolvers, double action revolvers, for many decades. And I've had holsters for all of those, of course, too. And I've had a carry permit for more than 20 years with the police department, and then of course with the regular carry permits and everything. So I have quite an extensive background of carrying, a firearm, a handgun. I have carried for many, many, many years, lots of different situations, with the police department, not with the police department, and I just have, now again, because of my profession, I don't get to carry, of course, a large percentage of the time, but I know a lot about it. I have a lot of experience, and I've been remiss in not sharing that with you. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that today, but I am going to give you an overview of the holsters that I have, a lot of them, give you a little history. This is almost going to be like a little bit vlog or a radio show kind of thing, give you some history in my holsters and show you some of my favorite holsters that I use now. And then I'll do some individual videos on some of them to give you more in depth on maybe some of my impressions, and I'll give you some of that today. But I'll give you an overview, and I've got a couple here and a couple more here on the table. So let's just take a look and get started, okay? See what we have here. Now, I brought out a couple of guns too, just to adorn, some of them. They just looked like they needed a firearm in them, right? So you can see I have quite an array, and this isn't all of them. I just sort of dug off the top. I'm sure I have, I may have 10, 15 more, in drawers and different places I didn't get to. So what I want to do is, I have some over here that I use a lot right now. I want to kind of start over here on the other side and give you an idea of kind of some of the holsters I've used and have, and just a little bit of the history while I've got them out. Now, this is my Ernie Hill speed rig I used back in 89 and 1990. Carried a compensated 1911, competed with that baby. That holster probably weighs 4 pounds. A lot of people use those, so that was that's an antique. I've had that put away for many, many years. I just flirted with the compensated guns for about a year and a half or 2 years. Thought I'd play with that a little bit. 38 Super, an old cowboy holster. That's for old percussion. Here you have an old cowboy shoulder holster. Yeah, I picked that up at a cowboy match from a guy just for kicks. Wore it in a match or two, I think. And back here we have my old 29 I bought in 1974, and that's the holster I bought with it right there the same day, I believe. Bianchi snap holster, really nice, and it has lasted a long time. I usually put it in that if I'm going to pack it around the farm and shoot it. So that holster has a lot of history, of course, the gun too. This is one of my favorite Colt single actions, and that's one of my favorite holsters for it. El Paso Saddlery company's been in business for a long time. They go back to the, I believe, the 1890s. But that's a nice holster there, a cowboy holster. There's a shoulder rig for the Model 29, kind of like Clint Eastwood carried. Had that thing since around 1974. There's a holster of Dad's. He had a single action he carried in that. He bought that. My gosh, that must have been in the 70s. Okay, I've got that. As we move them back up through here, there's another Colt single action holster. That's El Paso Saddlery. It's nice holster, basket weave there, Tom 3-persons style. Use that occasionally. And let's see, this holster is one I used when I worked with police quite often. It's for a Glock 19 or a Glock 23 paddle holster. Just slips right down in your pants like a paddle holster does. That's the handiness of those things. just on and off without a lot of trouble. They kind of hang up so the holster stays in and the gun comes out when you need to. That's for the years we had to have a snap holster, depending on what sheriff we were working under. And move on across, another Model 29 holster, the Diamond D holster rig. That one's for the 44 Model 629 or 29, whatever, and that was for the Glock 20. And a little cheap Uncle Mike holster inside the waistband. You can get those for, I don't know, 15 bucks on what they cost. Alabama holster, that's for a little LCP, I believe that one. Yeah, Alabama holster. They sent me that, in fact. It's a pretty neat little holster. Sent me one for, I think, the LCP and the car P380. And I kind of like that. It really hooks well. It has a little place there for your thumb. Pull the gun out. That was, I don't see their name on that one, but that was Alabama Holster Company, I'm almost certain. Kind of like that. A little bit different. Another nice holster. This is from J.W. O'Rourke. Nice Colt Peacemaker holster. I like his work. He does a good job. He's, I think, in Alabama. A couple of DeSantis pocket holsters. You've seen me show those. Old military holster. Got John's Series 80 in it. I would dress that up a little bit. And these holsters that this Series 80s is in, these Don Hume inside the waistband holsters are really popular. And they're really handy and they're very inexpensive. If you don't have a holster and you don't want to put a lot of money into a holster right now, that's an inside the waistband. They have a pretty nice clip on them. You notice there are several of them out here. I use those quite often. If I couldn't find something else I wanted, there's one for a Glock. Most of them are for Glocks. There's another one for a Glock. There's one for a Glock. Here's one for, I believe that's for a K-frame. That's what this is, Model 65. Yeah, inside the waistband, Don Hume. Those are nice holsters. They really are. This one I've had forever. I don't know, Mexico Viking. Has a snap. Good for packing around the farm. You know, a K-frame revolver. Interesting Lou Alessi holster here. He's passed away since I bought these, but they still make holsters. That's for 1911. You can tell I wore that a lot back in, that would have been in the late 80s and early 90s. I wore that a lot with the 1911 in it, 45, and that thing held up very well. I think it was called his Talon holster, and this thing's really held up well. Nice ones. I've got another one of those. Yeah, this is the same holster I used in, that's a Glock 21 holster. I carved on it a little bit. It used to look like this one, believe it or not. But I took the end off, and I think I was using it with the Glock 30 for a while, so I didn't need it to be as long, didn't want it as long. I even carved off some here. That's a nice thing about a holster. You can tailor to what you want, to your own needs. But the Alessi Talon, that's a classic. This one I got from Dillon. That's a nice one. That was one of the best holsters I ever found. It was much like the Alessi Talon. I don't even know who makes it. That's Horsehide. I haven't used that in forever. But Dillon sold these from their catalog for Glock 26. And I wore that forever. That holster, I had two of those. I finally wore the other one out. The clip lost all of its spring, and I ordered another one, but they don't sell those anymore. I don't know who makes that, but really a nice holster. Too bad they don't. Speaking of J.W. O'Rourke, these are some holsters I really like and have used with various guns, for revolvers especially. Pancake holsters, that's what those are called. That's for a 3-inch end frame, and you know I have a couple of those, and those are just nice holsters, nice all around holsters. You can use around the farm, if you want to carry an end frame for CCW, not bad at all. I got one for a K-frame, an end frame, and I had one for the GP100. You know, it's that one that I have since sold. This is for an end frame as well, 4-inch end frame. You can tell I've worn that a lot. That one really shows the wear. What else? I've got some miscellaneous ones I'm kind of skipping here, especially Glock holsters. I have gone through a lot of different holsters and arrangements looking for that perfect holster. You know, and that's an outside the belt holster, of course, as you can tell there. And let's see, for y'all who don't know, let's show you. This is I'm wearing one of my favorite holsters here too, the Crossbreed Super Tuck, and that's an inside the waistband holster. For those who don't know, when you hear people say that, or on the internet forums or YouTube, guess YouTube is an internet forum. You see people say, I'm looking for an IWB holster or an OWB holster. That's what they're talking about. It's an outside the waistband or inside the waistband. This is inside. It's great for concealed carry because, you know, if you have a jacket or something that's even up to there, you know, as long as you're covering your belt, that gun is covered, you know. Whereas some holsters, you know, they hang down. If you got a big gun and you got a holster like that, for example, it's going to be on the belt right there. Well, it drops down another several inches. Doesn't seem like much, but it really is. But that's an inside the waistband holster. And now this one I have not cut. I've not done any cutting on the leather because I knew I was going to do kind of a video on these holsters at one point. And it's just got a lot of leather up here. I have another one for the Glock 27 or 19, same holster. I've actually done some surgery on that one. You might call it butchering, but I cut the leather off and I like that better. He offers this in a combat cut. Actually, I think this one is maybe the combat cut. I think he even has one that has leather way out here. It gets in the way a little bit, but not a big deal. Depends on what you have under it. Part of the principle of that is to keep the oil and the gun off your shirt or your body or whatever. So you have to make the choice on that. But those are inside the waistband holsters, all right? And a lot of these are. So I guess I have moved over here to where I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of these because these are the holsters I use the most. Now around the farm, I'm liable to put anything on because it doesn't matter, does it? You know, this holster here outside the waistband, a big old holster, just depends on what I'm shooting and plinking with. I use these Phobos quite a bit. As you know, you see me with these on. And I'll tell you, they're cheap, like 20 bucks or something. The advantage of these is that you can, well, gun it or not. If it's loaded, you probably wouldn't stick it in there that much. But you stick them in your belt like that, and you got a holster that works. You know, there it is. It kind of hooks in there, and it's just a handy holster. I use them in videos. You see them every now and then if I'm just going to be out here messing around or demonstrating. And I know people wear these. It's their carry holster, you know. So I mean, they actually work. There are people who badmouth them. You know, for 20 bucks though, it's hard to beat. It doesn't hang down that far. You know, it's not bad. And of course, it's easy to get to. You know, it's just right there. So that's called a paddle holster. Okay, the paddle goes inside your pants, and maybe that looks like to you, if you're kind of a new shooter, a new person or a person with a carry permit you've picked up recently. Some of this jargon you hear, like paddle holster and pancake holster and inside the waistband, outside the waistband, might be a little confusing to you, but they're really not as awkward as they appear. I mean, they just really, most of them slide in very easily. Okay, so that's just a handy cheap holster, a Phobos paddle holster. Now this is one I like. Recently I've gotten from PS Holsters. Yeah, PS Holsters. It's inside the waistband. Same thing. You just stick it in there and get it out. Get the hooks on your belt. Now what I do usually is unhook my belt or my pants and stick them on a little bit easier. And there you go. That's a nice holster. That one feels pretty good. You'll take the Glock 19 or the Glock 27, and it's pretty handy. The better the holster, the better the inside the waistband holster, the more inconvenient it is to get on and off properly. Okay, that's just a kind of a generalization. I realize, like you saw me with that one, didn't go on as easily as, of course, a paddle holster. But once you get it on, it's really comfy. Same with the crossbreed holsters. You know, they're kind of big and ungainly looking. But and again, I normally take my pants off here a little bit, and I just pop it on and put the gun in. But once you get those on, they're not that hard to get on. They are really comfortable. So you pay that price. And the same with these. Now this is another favorite holster, Royal Guard by Galco. And you see you got to loop through your belt. And so you can either unsnap that, and let me take my vest off here. You can unsnap that and just run your belt through it, and you stick it in there. Well, I'll just do what I'm going to do, unsnap it. Some people probably just unsnap them, yeah. But that's how that rides, and you just get your belt the right tension, sometimes you got to loosen a snap. And now that's a nice holster. I use those. You've heard me talk about them. I carried a gun in these for a good while, actually. The Royal Guard, Galco Royal Guard. They're made of horsehide, and they're very comfortable. I have one for 1911, and I have this one for the Glock 26. I guess it is. I'll order one for a Glock 26 or for a Glock 19. And then I'm able generally to put in either a 26, a 27, of course, or a 19 or a 23. You know, all four of those guns will generally work in a holster that's designed for any one of them. That's nice too. Okay, so let me take that one off. So those have the loop. A lot of the inside the waistband holsters are made like that. They have the loops. Okay, a lot of the custom holsters by custom holster makers. You know, Galco is more of a mainline maker, but they do good work, really good work. Okay, so that's one of my favorites. My belt back tight here. The PS holsters I like the Crossbreed a lot, and this holster here is similar to the Crossbreed. This is an inside the waistband holster as well, made by Comp-Tac, and that is the Minotaur. That's a pretty nice holster. That's designed for the Walther PPS that I acquired recently, and I like that one. That one, same thing, goes inside the waistband. Let me go ahead and kind of show you how I put these on. Loosen your pants. Try not to show you my Homer Simpson underwear here. Okay. And just get the hooks around your belt. And you got to make and get it positioned where you want it. Right there. Okay. I realize it's much more fun to watch Lima Life do this, but there we go. All right. Now, let's see. Oh, I don't have that gun out here. But then it just slips right in, and, you're in business. And it's very comfortable. That leather makes it feel good. And then they come off even easier, of course. You just pull them right out. Not a problem. Now, this one, as you saw, it goes on probably a little bit easier. You can put it in with the gun in it or the... You know what? Ah, I see why that wasn't going in. That's the PS holster. I'm sorry about that. I had that on a minute ago. If you loosen your pants a little bit, it is easier. And there you go. Then just tighten it back up. And you're ready to go. Yeah, that was... Okay, I forgot. Now, that particular holster is really... The Kydex is maybe more that way, depending on the holster maker. But that thing fits like a glove. I was wondering what was going on with that when I was putting that in a minute ago. It didn't feel like the gun was going all the way down or something. It's because it is made for the subcompacts. And boy, is it. It fits like a glove, and you hardly know you've got it on there. That's a dandy. Feels very good. So that one won't, I mean, you could, in a pinch, if you had to, it would work with the larger Glock, but it's not designed for that. Okay? There's a PS holster. Nice rig there. There's another Galco I kind of like. This is just plain old clip-on holster. I ran across that. And the TR-286, the Kydex is really thin. One reason that is so popular, I know, for some of you, you're like me, you just really love the leather. But I'll tell you what, that Kydex is good stuff. For one thing, on inside the waistband, it enables you to have a really thin holster. I talk about thickness a lot with the guns. And if your holster's got leather that thick on it, you might as well have a thick gun. So that one really takes it nicely. It just clips right in. Okay. So those are some of my favorites that I wear, that I use. Okay. This Minotaur, these Crossbreeds, the Galco Royal Guard. Now the Summer Comfort is basically the same as the Royal Guard. These are just more expensive. Now that one's, I guess, the 1911. Here's two. These are apples to apples. Pretty much the same gun. They're for the Glock 26. Again, I stretch them out to the 23 or the 19 usually. They may not fit quite as well sometimes, or of course your slide sticks out the bottom a little bit. Not a big deal. Just depends. You just have to kind of test the holster. A lot of them will allow you to use either size gun. Just depends. As you saw with the PS holster system, that's for the subcompact, and man, does it fit well. There's an old side armor. Those are good guns or holsters. Really clip in there well too. I think that was actually for a Glock 30. Yeah, that's for a bigger Glock 30. I got that from 10 Outdoors 9. Man, must have been 15 years ago, seems like now. He probably ripped me off, didn't he? Anything else here I haven't, but anyway, those are, and of course I have the Phobos paddle holsters for like the Glock 21, for the big Glocks and the small Glocks. So I can, and most of these holsters I have for either the large frame Glocks and the smaller frame Glocks. And then of course, a variety of 1911 holsters. So by and large, those are the holsters that I use the most and that I like right now. And the other thing I want to point out is I used them, and I've used them, all of those, throughout the winter and the fall, and maybe for a year or two. The newest one, I guess, is the Minotaur, the Comp-Tac I got for the Walther PPS. But these others I've had since back in the winter and before. I bought this crossbreed holster. It was in a gun shop. They actually had one, a D&T over in Nashville, around I don't know, that's Goodlettsville. I'm not sure what that would be classified, or by Rivergate Mall, but good people. And that was just hanging on a rack. I was in shock. I thought you had to call them and order and wait for, you know, a month or so to get one of those in. There was one hanging for a Glock 26. I couldn't believe it, so I bought it because I'd heard a lot of good stuff about them. I'd heard them talked about on Tom Gresham radio show, and had been wanting to try one, and so I bought that. And then I contacted him and told me, I like this, and he sent me this one. This was a freebie. I like to, you know, full disclosure, that was a freebie. Crossbreed sent that to me for 1911. So now I'm represented. I've got all my favorite Glocks will fit in that one, and you know, my top four, Fab 4, whatever. And then any 1911 I have will fit in this one. So I have been testing those through the winter, like those just fine. Be doing more in-depth reviews on some of those. Okay. So I threw a lot at you there at once. Didn't maybe talk about this type of holster. This is an outside the waistband holster, and I think I have one in a, you know, when I'm out here doing, some crazy video, I don't see it, maybe that's it. Yeah. I have outside the waistband, these are Don Humes, I think. Yeah, these are Don Hume holsters. Okay, they're outside the waistband. You can see how they work. They're kind of a minimalist holster, nothing too big, pretty easy to put on. I slide them through there, through a belt loop, and when I'm doing reviews of several different firearms, pistols maybe, for example, this is for a Glock 30. You know, you've seen me with that, and I've mentioned it before. About anything I pick up will fit in there. You know, it's pretty handy. So that's outside the waistband. Some people prefer to carry that. That's not a gigantic holster. That's a pretty handy little carry holster. You can put your gun in that, and it's pretty secure. Some people don't like their belt so tight. Inside the waistband is not for everybody, and that's an inexpensive holster as well. So that's the other type of carry outside the waistband. You know, that's pretty convenient in a small holster like that. This is for the 26 or the 27 here. So that was the one I think I hadn't shown you much. So that's most of my holster collection. Had a lot of experience with almost all of those, exception of a couple or three. And by golly, I've done a holster video now. Y'all feel better? Well, I don't know. I didn't give you maybe everything you wanted to know about those, but we're going to go into more depth with some of them, and I'll continue to give you my impressions of the ones that I wear, because I use these, not all of them, but I use a lot of these all the time. You know, every weekend. So I can give you the deal on them. I mean, I've had lots of experience carrying in all sorts of weather, all sorts of conditions. In cars, riding around police cars for hours and hours and hours, where we reserve deputies dressed plainclothes, sometimes with a vest, usually with a vest, concealed carry, and we were in squad cars, you know, almost all night. And so I've sat with these things. I know which holsters ride well, and which ones at least serve me well, and which ones don't. So I'll continue to do some more with holsters, and hopefully this a little bit of an introduction to it that'll give you some idea, you know, at least what I like, my impression. So glad you come out. Now I wish somebody would come over and help me clean all this up. Life's good.